Hey, what's up musers? This is John at Muse for You, here to help you build awesome websites without code. And in this video tutorial, I'm going to be creating a quick animation using the Muse Motion widget, the Animator 1.3 widget, and I'm also going to be using the icon animation widget, and I'm going to add sound effects with the click hover sound effects widget. So I'm using all these widgets to create this animation, so I'll go ahead and preview this in the browser. So I'll go to File, Preview Page in Browser, and there we see it animates and the flowers come in, and here we see it says click on flowers. So when you click, there's a sound, and when you hover off, the sound goes away. There's another one, there's this one here, and I clicked twice on there. Alright, so this audio is a little bit long, and I was trying to find some audios that pertain to spring. I just ended up finding like these flute sounds, but it'll just be for demonstration purposes. So you can put any sound you'd like over your animations. And when you click on the flowers, the icon animation has kind of this burst effect. So it plays the sound and it has that burst effect. So we can see here. Yeah, this one's a little bit too long, so and I could go back in here and change the audio for that really long one. So I'll just go back in here and I'll make them all the same here. Preview page in browser. Alright, so there's the animation, and it has the burst effect to each of the flowers. So here we see we use the Muse Motion widget for animating the flowers up and animating the flowers in. And also up here we're using the Animator 1.3 widget to animate this text up here. For the burst effects, we're using the icon animation widget, and for the sound effects we're using the click hover sound effects widget. And all of these widgets can be found at museforyoushop.com. So I'm going to go ahead and get started with recreating this animation. So let's begin. So the first thing I'm going to do is go to File, New Site in Adobe Muse, and I'll click OK, and I'll double click on the home page. And the next thing I want to do is open up that Illustrator file with the flowers. So I'll click here, I'll right click, open with Adobe Illustrator. Okay, and here I have the image with the different elements. So the first thing I want to do is ungroup, or they're already ungrouped, so that's great. I don't need the spring vector illustration, and I don't need the background here, so I'll just delete that. And I don't need this text up here, so I'll just delete that as well. So the first thing I'm going to do is paste in this grass here. And actually, let me check how big this animation is. It's in centimeters, so I'm just going to convert it to pixels real quick, so we can work with pixels. And I'll just highlight this grass here, just the grass, and it's 425 pixels wide, so I want it to be a little bit wider. So I'm going to say 700 pixels wide, and that'll change the height as well. Okay, so now all the elements are bigger. So I'll click on the grass here, I'll hit Command C to copy, then I'll go into Adobe Muse and I'll hit Command V to paste. So there's our grass, and we're not going to really do much with the grass here. We'll just leave it there. And now I'll copy and paste each of the flower stems one by one. So I'll click there, copy and paste, paste right there. I'll copy this one, paste this one, I'll copy this one, and I'll paste this one, and I'll copy this one, and I'll paste this one. Actually, I think I pasted it over the other one. Let me just make sure. Yep. So yeah, let's take that there, and I'll copy this one, and I'll paste this one here. All right, and that spacing looks good there. Maybe I'll move this one more in the center. Okay, looks good. And then I'll select all of these, and yeah, maybe I'll move them just like that. That looks good. And so I have all the stems selected, so I'm going to right click, arrange, and send to back so that they're behind the grass there. Okay, so now I'll copy all of these flowers individually. So I'll just select the flower. I'll right click and group because the flowers are not grouped here. And then I'll select it, hit Command C to copy, go into Muse and paste, and I'll paste it right above the stem, maybe a little bit higher there. Yep, that looks good. I'll go back into Illustrator, I'll right click this one's grouped, and I'll just paste that in there, paste it right above the stem, maybe move it to the right a little bit, then go back into Illustrator, copy this one, paste, and some of the flowers do seem grouped, so we don't have to group them. Go to this one here, copy and paste, perfect, and then this one, this one's not grouped, so I'll select all of these, right click, group, I'll hit Command C to copy, and then Command V to paste. Okay, so there are the flowers, and there's the illustration. If we were just to preview in Adobe Muse, it would just look like this, just like flowers there. So now what we want to do is bring in the Muse Motion widget so we can animate the stems going up and animate the flowers coming in. So to do that, I'll go to my library panel. If you don't see your library panel, you can go to Window and then click on Library. So I'll bring up my library panel here, and here I'll type in Muse Motion. For the first Muse Motion, we want to select the Muse Motion initial. So I'll click, hold, and drag and place onto my Adobe Muse website. And here I have the first Muse Motion, and I'll just place it up here in the left. And then I'll click on the drop down. And actually, before we bring in the Muse Motion, we can leave this here, but before we animate any of the elements, we want to give all of these elements a particular graphic style name. So I'll click on this first stem, and I'll click on graphic styles, and then down here, we have this icon that looks like a piece of paper. So I'll click on it, and then here where it says style, we created a new graphic style. So I'll double click, and I'll call this Motion 1. And then I'll click on the second stem, new graphic style. I'll call this Motion 2. The third one, new graphic style, Motion 3. Yep, Motion 3. Fourth one, new graphic style, Motion 4. This one here, new graphic style, Motion 5. This first flower here, give it a graphic style, Motion 6. This one here, graphic style, Motion 7. This one here, new graphic style, Motion 8. This one here, new graphic style, double click, Motion 9. This one here, new graphic style, Motion 10. Okay, so all of the elements have graphic styles. So now in the Muse Motion widget, if we open the Muse Motion, we see here it says graphic style name, and because it has Motion 1, it'll assign this animation to this first stem, because this first stem has the graphic style name Motion 1, and it'll be the same for the corresponding elements. Okay, so I'll open the widget options, and now to add the animation, I just closed it there. For these animations for the stems, I want it to animate from the bottom center, and I want it to scale up. I want it to scale up. So to do that, we go into the trigger animation. We do want it to start on start. I don't want an animation delay for this first one. We don't need to worry about the on scroll offset from top because we're not going to trigger it on scroll. I do want it hidden initially, and we're not going to rotate it, so this doesn't really have an effect, so we can leave that checked or unchecked. But right down here in the transform origin, and we don't want to loop the animation or repeat animation on scroll because we're not going to have it on scroll. But right down here in the transform origin, to have it animate from the bottom center, we're going to say transform origin 50%, so it's right in the middle on the horizontal axis, on the x-axis. And here for the y-axis, we're going to say 100, so it goes all the way to the bottom of the element. Okay, and then for the scale, I'm going to say from 0 to 1, which is the largest scale you can have. And the duration, I'm going to say 3 seconds. Okay, so that looks good there. So now if I go to File, Preview Page, and Browser, we can see that it animates with a little bounce there, and that looks nice. So now we want to animate the other stems. So I'm going to bring in the Muse Motion additional. So I'll type in Muse Motion again, and I'll bring in the Muse Motion additional. Okay, and then I'll place it right here. And for this one, it has the graphic style name 2 and the instance number 2, so we'll leave that like that. And then again, we can leave all of these settings just like it is. We might change the animation delay. I'll change it to, let's say, 300 milliseconds, so the stems kind of animate after one another. And then for the X and Y, we'll say the same thing, 50% on the X-axis and 100% on the Y-axis. And then for the scale, we'll do 0 to 1, and again, we'll do 3 seconds. All right, so let's file, preview page in browser. All right, that looks good. And we might take some of the bounce off of these stems because we don't want the stem going past going past the flower. So I'll just take off the bounce off the animation. All right, so I'll go to File, Preview Page in Browser, and perfect, that looks great. And I'll move this element up a little bit. All right, that looks good. Okay, so now I'll just copy the additional. I'll hit Command C to copy and then Command V to paste. And all we have to do with the additional is change the instance number, like move it up 1, so instance number 3 and motion 3, because for each animation we want a unique instance number. And then for the animation delay, I'll just say 500, and then I'll copy this and paste. And then again, I'll bring it in here. We didn't change the scale because the scale and the transform origin are the same for these, because we copied the additional widget. And so all we're changing is the instance number and the motion and the graphic style name to match the graphic style name of the elements. And then we're just changing the delay a little bit so that they animate one after another. All right, so we have that there, and I'll say 900 for this one. Okay, and then instance number 5 and motion 5. Okay, and I'll go to File, Preview Page in Browser, and perfect. There we have our stems animating. Yeah, it looks really good. They're animating there. So the next thing I want to do is animate these flowers. I want them to like animate from the center and kind of just pop in. So I'll just hit Command C to copy the additional, and I'll paste this one here. And then again, I'll just change the instance number to 6 and the graphic style name to motion 6. For the animation delay, we're going to say 1 second. There, that looks good. And then I want it to animate from the center, so I'm going to say 50-50, so 50 on the x-axis and 50% on the y-axis. Yeah, 50% on the x and 50% on the y. And then for the scale, we can leave that like that. And we can maybe add some bounce to the flowers to see how that looks. So I'll go to File, Preview Page in Browser. And it doesn't look bad. Actually, yeah, let me take the bounce off. I don't think we need bounce for the flowers. Yeah, so it just looks like a nice smooth transition. All right, there we go. Yeah, that looks good. So now I'll copy again the additional, and I'll paste it in there. And then here we'll say 7, and then motion 7, 50-50, that looks good. Yeah, I think that's it. Oh yeah, and the animation delay, we want to change it to 2 seconds. All right, and then I'll copy and paste again, and we'll change the animation, or we'll change it to 8 and 8, and we'll change the animation delay to 3 seconds. And then I'll copy again and paste, and then we'll change the instance number to 9, and then 9, and then we'll say 4 seconds. So this will be a 5-second animation, and I'll add more scroll space here, and there we go. And I'll paste this over here, and then we'll call this 10, and then 10 here, motion 10, and then the animation delay, I'll say 5 seconds. Okay, so now I'll go to File, Preview Page in Browser, and there we go. Perfect. All right, looks good. So we have our flower animation, and now the next thing I'm gonna do is add some text. So I'll say spring is here, and exclamation point, and I'll use this bear and loop font. We'll say 72, center it, and there we go, put it here at the top. Let me just grab the color here from this background. I like this kind of beige color here. And then for the background, the browser fill, we'll go in the browser fill, and we'll just paste that in here. For this text, I'm going to sample the grass here, this color, and that looks good. So we'll leave that like that. And then I'll copy and paste this again, and I'll say click on, and let's make this a lot smaller, maybe 24. Yeah, click on flowers. All right, that looks good. Do something like that. Okay, and let me center both of these. So I'll go to align center. That looks good. And we can maybe bring this down a little bit more, just like that. All right, perfect. So now I'm going to bring in the animator widget to animate the spring is here and the click on flowers. So I'll go to my library panel, and actually before I do that, there's one thing I did in the previous animation that I kind of liked. The one thing that I did was I added a fade in to the entire animation here. So to do that, what we want to do is create a rectangle behind this entire animation. So I just selected the rectangle tool here. I'll show that again. I selected the rectangle tool right up here, and then I'll create a rectangle right behind this entire animation. And then I'll give this rectangle a graphic style name. So I'll go to graphic styles, and I'll call this animate 1. Okay. So now, oh, and the next thing I want to do is bring it to the back. I want to make sure that this rectangle is behind all of these elements here. So I'll right click, arrange, and send to back. Okay, so now I'll go to my library panel, and I'll type in the animator, and it's the animator 1.3 now. So I'll click on the animator initial, and I'll bring onto my Adobe Muse website. I'll just drop it onto my Adobe Muse website, and now I'll go to the widget options. It already has the graphic style name animate 1, and I want it to fade in. And the animation duration, 1 second I think will be good. We want it to start on start, and that is it. So I'll go to File, Preview Page in Browser, and we can see that the animation has this nice fade in when it first starts. So I really like that effect there. So we'll just add the fade in there. So the next thing I want to do is animate these texts here. Let me bring this up a little bit, or yeah, that's good there. So what I'll do is I'll bring in the animator again. I'll bring in the animator additional because it's our second animator animation. So I'll click, hold, and drag and bring in the animator additional, and I'll place it right here to the left. And then what I want to do is give this text here a graphic style name. So I'll go to my graphic styles, and I'll click on the icon with that looks like a piece of paper, down here. I'll click on style, and I'll say animate 2, and here I'm going to have it bounce in from the left. So bounce in left. Okay, and we can leave the duration just like that, and that's it. So now I'll copy this one, the animator additional. I'll just hit Command C on the animator additional, and then paste by hitting Command V. And then here, instance number, we'll change it to 3, and animate 3 here for the graphic style name. And for this one, I want it to bounce in up there. Okay, so there's our animation. So now if I go to File, oh, and I need to add a graphic style name to this one before I preview. So I'll go to new graphic style, and I'll type in animate 3. Okay, because in this one we can see the graphic style name is animate 3. All right, so I'll go to File, Preview Page in Browser, and there we have it. Looks nice. This might be a little bit fast, so I'll change the animation duration to 3 seconds, and I'll go to File, Preview Page in Browser. That kind of messed with the timing a little bit, so yeah, we'll just leave it at 1 second. File, Preview Page in Browser. All right, looks good. Perfect. Yeah, I guess because this one was animating over these, it kind of messed with the timing of these, but that looks good. Spring is here, click on the flowers, and perfect. So the next thing I want to do is bring in the icon animation, and I'll move fairly quickly through this just so it's not a too long of a video tutorial. So I'll type in icon animation, or better yet, I'll scroll down to, or I'll type in add first. Because in the icon animation widget, there's this add first widget, which you want to add before any of the other widgets, and you want to put it above all the other icon animations. So you just want to add that add first widget, and then I'll type in icon animation. And for the previous ones, I think I used icon animation 6. So I'll click, hold, and drag and place right there. And we have this icon here, so I'll place it over this first flower. And to get rid of the icon, for the icon color before, we'll just make it transparent, and the icon color after, we'll make it transparent as well. And that is it. So now if I go to File, Preview Page in Browser, and I click, nothing is happening there. Oh, because we have to assign this, wait, let me see, that should be working. Oh, we have to move this one all the way to the top, the add first. So let's check that out and make sure that it's working correctly. Yeah, so if it's not quite triggering, just make sure that this add first is at the top. Because it's right here, it's kind of not exactly on the top, above this one here. So you just want to make sure that this add first is at the top of your website, or really above any of the icon animations. All right, so there it triggered. We can see that the color didn't really match the color of the website. So if I click, we can see it doesn't really match this flower here. So one thing I did for the last website is I sampled all of these colors on the flowers. So to do that, we just go to the browser fill, and then we click the eyedropper tool, or the sample color tool, and then we'll just sample each color and then save the swatch. And I'll click OK. We'll save the swatch by clicking this little icon here that says add swatch. And then we'll just repeat the process. So I'll click the sample color, sample this blue, click on the add swatch, click OK, sample this pink, click on the add swatch, click OK, sample the yellow, click on add swatch, click OK, sample the red, click on add swatch, and then click OK. And then, then I'll go back in here and copy this color here again, and go back in here and go to the browser fill, paste, hit enter, and I'll add this swatch as well in case we want to go back to it. Okay, so there we have our color sampled. So I'll just go in here, and then for the animation color 1, I'll say orange. Yeah, excuse me, I dragged that there. And then animation color 2, I'll say white. So let's see how that looks. I'll go to File, Preview Page in Browser, and I'll click, and perfect. That looks good. All right, so I'll just copy and paste this one here and paste it over each of the flowers. I'm just copying and pasting this icon animation, and I'll just center it over each of the flowers here, and then I'll paste again, and I'll paste it over this flower here. Okay, perfect. And now the next thing I want to do, so that each of the animations get triggered, is change the instance number, and I'll change the color for each of the animations. All right, and then I'll click in here, change it to instance number 3, and I'll say pink. Then go in here, change the instance number to 4, and I'll say yellow down here. Excuse me, and and then I'll go in here and I'll do 5, and I'll change it to red. All right, so now each of these animations have their own instance number and they're different colors. So now if I go to File, Preview Page in Browser, we have it animate in, looks good. And perfect. And then if I click on each one, we have that nice animation. Okay. And one thing, because these are fairly close, sometimes the animation will overlap a little bit. Like if I click here and then I click on the top right, or in the center, or actually no. Yeah, if I click here, it kind of because the animation is a big burst, so it overlaps a little bit. So what I could do is move some of these elements a little further from each other. But for now, it looks pretty good. I'll just kind of play it like so, and they don't overlap that much, so it's actually quite nice. All right, so there's the animation, and the last thing I want to do is add some sound effects to it. So to do that, I'll go to my library panel, and I'll type in click. I'll just type in click, and here I have the click hover audio effects widget initial, so I'll bring that in. And then what I want to do here is assign the graphic style name audio 1 to each of these icon animations, so that when I click on the icon animation, it triggers the audio. So I'll click on the icon animation widget here, the kind of the widget container, and then I'll go to graphic styles, and I'll create a new graphic style, and I'll call this audio 1. Okay, and then I'll assign audio 1 to each of the icon animations. Okay, so now whatever audio is in here is going to trigger the audio when I click on the icon animation. And then for the add audio, I'm just going to add an MP3. So I'll click here and I'll click on that flute there that I had in the beginning, and I want to trigger the sound on click. All right, and I can make it so that the sound stops when I move my mouse out of the area, and I'll preview that real quick. So I'll go to File, Preview Page in Browser. All right, so if I click and I go off, it stops the sound. Because it's a short sound, I don't want it to do that, so I'll uncheck Stop Sound on mouse sleeve, and I'll go to File, Preview Page in Browser, and when I click, I like that it doesn't stop because it's just a quick animation. All right. We don't need it to stop after it leaves because it's just a quick animation. So there we have that. And the one thing that I don't know if I'm crazy about is this click on flowers. Maybe I'll have it animate from the right, not from the bottom. So I'll go to my animator and I'll say bounce in right. So I want it to come in from the right. So I'll go to File, Preview Page in Browser. And there, I kind of like that a little bit better. All right, so there's the animation and looks nice. So that's all I wanted to showcase in this video tutorial. I was gonna add kind of like the responsive side menu widget just to show you more things you can do, like with menus and things like that. I do feel like this video might be a little bit too long if I do that, so I'll just leave it here with the animation. I will be making more videos. I have a cool idea for a music website where you can animate like speakers coming in and use the sound effects, use the click effects, and have a really interesting kind of music website where you can trigger audio, trigger animations, and just make it a really fun website and kind of visually cool and animated. So that's it for this video tutorial. To get access to all of these widgets, you simply go to museforYouShop.com, and then here you can click on the pop-up, and here you can get access to all widgets and any new widgets I come out with for $39 a year. Or if you'd like to use PayPal, you can click here to use PayPal. If you'd like to purchase the widgets individually, you can just click on the widgets to purchase individually. So here I have Muse Motion, I have icon animation, I have the animator. It's now the animator 1.3, and the click hover audio effects there. Okay, so those are the widgets, and then you can click on the widget to purchase individually, and then you can click add to cart here, and yeah, that'll purchase it individually. Or again, you can get access to all widgets and any new widgets I come out with for $39 a year. So that's it for this video tutorial. Again, I do this to help you build awesome websites without code. If you like this video tutorial, you can subscribe below. Also in the show more section below are links to other resources and links to museforYouShop.com. So again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video tutorial. Thank you.